Hello everyone, welcome in. I'm Taffany and this is Tika's Gardens. And I was out in the bedroom garden enjoying the sun. As you can kind of see if you look at the garden, it's really shady over here this late morning, and very sunny here in the courtyard garden. Well, not courtyard, but bedroom garden. And so I was sitting back there. I brought the chairs over there to sit back there and just enjoy the sun. And I was just thinking, what if you really had a desire to change some space in your garden into a secret garden? I really wanted a secret private space that would not cost a lot and that would be something that could be enjoyed. I could just sit in and look out at the garden and just enjoy it. And that is what that bedroom garden is all about. It is a spot in the garden that was a trouble spot, that held a lot of water. Water would just build up with heavy rains. So I needed to fix that, but without spending a lot of money. So I did it practically. And I just turned it into my own little secret garden. And I called it the bedroom garden because you can see it from the bedroom. And if you look behind me, you can see Miss Tika is already enjoying the chairs that I was sitting in. So we're going to head back there, sit down, and have a chat about how you can turn a corner of your garden, whether it's a problem or not a problem spot, but how you can turn a nice little corner into something really, really charming and spectacular, just a cute little secret garden. It is a little warm in the sun, so sitting right here, it just feels perfect. But I have an appointment later, so I'm dressed for that. But I figured before I went, I would sit out and enjoy, and that sparked me to talk about how to turn a section of your garden into something like my bedroom garden. So first, let's go all of the way back to when we moved into the house and what the backyard looked like. So the yard was pretty much empty. There was a very tiny spot in the back with a big tree. The roots were extended out into what was supposed to be grass. Most of it was weeds. In the picture, it looks green, but it was a lot of weedy grass, or I guess you whatever you want to call it. But this particular corner was just that weedy grass. No flower beds or anything like that here, as you can see from the pictures. And every time it rained, water built up so badly over here. One rain, it built up like to the top of the concrete section here at the foundation of the house, really high. And so I was like, this part is never going to be usable for anything. I had no idea at that time when we moved in that I would get inspired to turn it into this, but I don't know what hit me or when, but I'm glad it did because it has turned into a beautiful space. All it's lacking is a door from the bedroom to be able to walk out here, and maybe we'll do that later. But anyway, so this part of the yard was just grass all of the way up to the fence. And water buildup, not usable. So what I did was, as I started making the beds in this garden, I started making foundation bed starting at the back door, and I stopped. Let's kind of show you. I stopped right here, and then I decided I would extend it. So to extend it, I brought the bed further along the house here, which is the bed that is behind me, and I took it to here where the edge of this wall is. And then I was like, I want more planting space. So I then extended the bed further along. So let me kind of walk you along where I started extending the bed out more. I think it's safe to say that Miss Tika is loving this spot. She's been over here sunbathing, giving herself a bath, enjoying. But anyway, so when I extended the bed, it stopped here. But then I decided to extend it further because when you're planting, you want more space. So I made this bed here, but I wasn't able to plant in it because water would pour off of the roof when it rained and just pile up here. So I put gravel here, and I wasn't sure how I could plant here. I thought maybe I could put pots or whatever. I did try some pots the first year that I planted, but I decided to just kind of leave it until I figure out what I want to do. So I've got this area here that I couldn't really plant in because when there's a heavy rain or you know, a rain in general, it would beat down on the plants because of the water coming off of the roof because there's no gutter. So I graveled here and left it alone. Then I decided I wanted to extend the bed more. So I came around here making a bed, and I made the bed extend all of the way up to where the rock was when the tree was here, because the vegetable garden wasn't an idea yet at that time. So it was still the tree here, and the section was much smaller than it is now. So I extended the bed to there. And so now I had this whole border from all the way along the house foundation to all of the way along the fence to plant. And I played around with a few things for planting, not sure what to do, but still having the issue of the water. So as I started to really work in these areas a little more, I discovered a drain right here. It is in this corner. You'll get a close-up look at that. And I was like, this is why the water is not draining out over here. This is why it's building up, because the drain is covered. So the drain was actually down quite a bit. If you kind of notice, this corner here is high. Over here, that corner is high, but then it's lower the rest of the way. What I did was I pulled out the shovel and I started digging, and I dug the soil down. I kept digging and digging to kind of level out that area so the soil level was not higher than the drain. And as I worked more over here, I then found the second drain, which is right here. So I did more digging all along here to lower this whole level, and I dug manually. I did not use any automated tools or anything like that. And I got the level down low enough so the drains could be exposed and could be used. So that helped tremendously with drainage back here. But I was still getting some buildup and water running from the higher part of the yard to the lower. So I planted like that there's a plane coming in, hang on. All right, so I planted like that for the first year or two in the house. I did nothing with it because I didn't know what to do. But then I got the idea from watching a lot of gardening videos that I wanted a garden path, and I wanted to be able to walk along a garden path. but I didn't know how to do that. And we also knew we wanted to get that tree down because it had gotten to the point where it was just, the roots were extended out into what was supposed to be grass. The branches were extended out. It had spider webs all in the branches and stuff. It was yucky. Um, whew, it just became a mess. So we cut the tree down, as we talked about in the video that I did last week for the vegetable garden. And I extended that vegetable garden out, well, that section out just a little bit, and decided I wanted to make a vegetable garden. I eventually extended it out more, which then caused me to have to reshape this bed. And it went up to where the rocks were. And then as I got the idea to do the vegetable garden, I started working on that first. And I created the vegetable garden, getting the fencing and stuff. And now that I had that white picket fence, I thought it would be nice to make a planting along the front of the fence. So I pulled this bed out and reshaped it and brought it along here to go along the front of the fencing, so I could have pretty flowers along that. And so I worked on the rest of the yard, still not even thinking about making this a secret garden. And then this year, I got the idea that, well, early this year, like January or so, I got the idea that this little corner, this little circle area could be, you know, a secret garden. I didn't know what to call it at that time, but I thought it would be a nice little garden right off of the bedroom. It could be like a private room. My goal was to make it a garden room. And so I knew I had to address a little bit more the issues with the water buildup. So the walkway was wood mulch. So I made the walkway gravel in this section. All of these videos you can see that I did earlier in this year. I made the walkway gravel to kind of give it a gravel walkway look, but also it can kind of function like river rock in the sense that as the water runs down, it's running through the gravel and it's slowing it down before it gets to this part of the garden. I eventually made this circle bed after doing the vegetable garden, before even coming up with this idea. I made the circle bed. It was smaller, and that's because there was some kind of tree or something here already. I pulled, one thing had already been cut down, so I pulled that, the remainder of the stump and stuff out, and the other thing we cut down and took out, and just made a little circle around the area where the planting was already here. And eventually this got extended out. And then as I started moving rock around the garden, I decided to brick this off so that the mulch would not run into the grass and things like that. And eventually we had this area just all grass. And then I decided to make a little bed here. I was planning on putting some type of urn planter here, but when I got the Barbados cherry, I was like, I'm going to plop it in there for right now. And that kind of gave us like this circle of grass around the tree. And I always thought that I would put a little bistro set here, but it was just an evolution. It was not a plan. It was not like I sat down and drew out, this is what I want to do. This is how I want it to look. It's one thing led to another, which led to another. But doing all these things and exposing the drains and stuff has really helped with the buildup of water back here. So now this empty corner of the garden that looked like it was not going to be usable for anything because it held water, it was the lowest part, it was mostly weeds, it was and dirt, because there's a lot of dirt here. I did have to get grass and put grass down here to get grass to start to grow. So I put the grass along this section here and here, and worked on this section here. And so we finally got grass back here. We've got the gravel walkway, we've got a bed, we've got an orange tree, we've got a cherry tree, and you know, the rest is kind of history. I started getting ideas for plantings. I knew I wanted this area to be mostly evergreen. So when I look out the window, I can see something year round. But I also wanted to add a couple little trees here, not big tall trees, but you know, a few little trees. Both of these will get up to a max of about 10 feet tall. So that's not too bad. And so that is kind of how this area evolved. You know, there's always so much you can tell with it, you know, in a story of how you create something, but that's just a quick summary of it. And I tell that story to show you that you don't have to have a plan or an idea. You don't have to have something drawn out or written out. You can just say, you know what? That corner is not being used. How can we fix it? And how can we do it without bringing in someone to bring in fill dirt, level it, and hiring professionals and stuff? How can we do it to make it usable and turn it into a cute little secret garden or sitting area, or, you know, both? You know, there's not too much to it. Now, there are some spaces where you really will have to bring in professional help if it's really bad. But if you've got a corner that you figure you can, you know, probably fix any of its problems on your own by adding some gravel and rock and, you know, edging around your beds to prevent runoff of the mulch when you do get heavy rains. You know, one of the things I did with this circle bed, for example, I have 2 levels of rock, but the mulch only goes as high as 1 level. So that is whenever we do get heavy rains and that water comes running from the higher part to the lower part, the rock can act as a barrier, the upper level of rock, to prevent the mulch from going over. Same here, 2 levels of rock, but the mulch is really only up to the first level of rock. It's just to provide a barrier to prevent runoff. And yeah, so once this became an idea in my head and I started to really see it evolve, I had to come up with a name, and I decided to call it, like I said, the bedroom garden. And so the bedroom garden is filled with a lot of evergreens like these ligustrums here that mark the entrance. And also, when you're, you know, doing these, be patient and wait, because if you wait for off-season sales, you can get big discounts. Um, you know, I talk about pricing sometimes in here, but I think bringing it up every now and again really can help people. For example, these columnar ligustrums typically would run $39.99 each at the garden center. That's their regular price, and that's what they were selling them for up until mid-September, early October. I waited and waited, and they finally went on sale because they need to get rid of as much as they could so they could bring in their Christmas trees and, you know, winter, you know, cold hardy plants and things. So they went on sale because they needed to get rid of them. So instead of spending $39.99, which is what I would have paid from September through the earlier part of this year, I paid $6 for each one. Yeah, $6 for each one. So when you're making your space, just be patient. You may not be able to, you may know what you want to put in, but it, you know, you may have to wait for the off-season garden sales so you can get them, especially if you need multiples. Like I have 7, 1, 2, yeah, let's see. Here, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5 over here, and then I have 2 marking the entrance to that back garden over there for a total of 7, which, what is 40 times 7 is $280 it would have cost me, as opposed to 6 times 7, which is $42. So see, be patient. And then other things I did already have, like the hibiscus here, and I got roses last fall on sale. They were something like $3 each or whatever when they were trying to get rid of those things. So you don't have to have a master plan. Just kind of start with one thing, and that one idea will spark another, which will then spark another. And the next thing you know, a space like this has now turned into a space like this, where you can grab your chairs from your little small patio, bring them back here, get something specifically for this area, and you can just sit down and relax and have the sun shining down on you. And I did have a drink of hot chocolate. I didn't bring that out. It's in the kitchen on the counter. Um, and just enjoy this space. I have my chairs directed in a way where I can look at the vegetable garden and the rest of the garden, and I just love it. So, again, the question is there a corner of your garden where you would love to see it converted into something usable? You dream of having a little secret garden that's really more for just your own personal use, but you're not sure where to put it because that ugly corner over there, it's not usable. It's always a problem. It holds water or this or that. So you just don't think you have somewhere to do it. Well, you definitely do. It's just going to take some time and some patience. And you will be able to create your own little paradise. So, guys, I hope the story of how my bedroom garden came to life helps you out, gives you some ideas, inspires you, and helps you to have patience for sales. There's another plane up ahead. Um, I live near a private airport. I say that for those of you who are regulars, for those who are new, if you're wondering why there's always a airplane noise, that is why. I live near a private airport, and it's not bad, actually. You would think it would be noisy. It's not as bad. It's just that I'm usually out filming during the times that the flights come in. So anyway, but yeah, that is the story of this garden, and I hope it helps you. I hope it inspires you. And I hope you can find a space in your garden to create your own little private space, your own little private oasis. But in the meantime, guys, I have to head to my appointment. So I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.